Experimenting with beloved movie franchises can be risky, especially when it comes to one as beloved as Star Wars. But after having seen this movie, I can say it was a risk well worth taking.
We'll take the next chance. And the next. You're rebels, aren't you?
Save the rebellion! Save the dream!
Hey there guys, how are you? It's me, the Canadian Movie Buff, with a review of Rogue One, a Star Wars story. So Rogue One is an anthology film that takes place right before the events of A New Hope, and it's all about how the Rebel Alliance got their hands on the Death Star plans. A woman named Jyn Erso is rescued by the rebels, and they tell her, your father worked on this death ray, so now you gotta help us destroy it. So she and this band of warriors go off on what appears to be a suicide mission to go and steer the plans, and thus kicking off the events of the original Star Wars movie. I absolutely loved The Force Awakens when it first came out, before realizing that it was A New Hope Remake Edition. So as you probably guessed, I was already on the hype train. There were some downing moments in the weeks leading up to it, mainly because we've never had a Star Wars movie that didn't have the word episode in the title. Although I guess you could call this episode 3.9 the opening scrolling text from the first movie. But still, I went in with an open mind and a positive attitude. I just didn't let my expectations get too high in case it sucked or it was just average. And, well, here I am, still smiling. This may sound a little cliche, but this movie puts the wars in Star Wars. You see people ambush these stormtroopers and you realize, these are just average citizens. They're just a bunch of people who are ticked off at the Empire, so they're fighting back. By adding that level of human connection, it feels kind of shocking. Like, when did this franchise of space and lightsabers and fighting an oppressive regime get so dark? Really makes you stop and reevaluate the series as a whole. Speaking of human connection, let's talk characters. When I first saw Jyn Erso, I was worried that she was going to be the mopey rebel who didn't want to be a part of the cause, so she spends half the movie looking like Kristen Stewart. Just imagine an angsty teen. Fine, I'll steal the Death Star plans, but only because you told me. I know I have to be here. Get off my case, Mon. But nope, they give her a proper backstory and a pretty good reason as to why she looks so pissy half the time. Her dad was taken away from her as a child so he could go build the Death Star, so she's been spending her whole life fighting the Empire. Which you think would get her on the good side of the Rebel Alliance, instead they just think of her as a reckless loose cannon. It's not just an assumption, it's pretty obvious that she doesn't like working with others, and that causes her to butt heads with Captain Cassian Andor. Cassian is this no-nonsense guy, he follows orders by the book, basically Jyn Erso's complete opposite. What makes this movie stand on its own is that the story doesn't follow the same format as their main series. Hero starts on planet A to go to planet B to destroy the thing on planet C. They mix it around so we see more planets and in turn, more of this galaxy. And usually the hero's like, yay, I want to go on an adventure. But Jyn Erso is just like, I don't want to be a part of this, I was happy with what I was doing earlier, can I go? On the other side of the coin, this movie has an awesome villain, and his name is Orson Krennic. He's a high-ranking official in the Imperial Army, and it makes sense for this type of person to be the main villain, cause, let's be honest, there's no way this ragtag group can take on Vader. I really liked Krennic as a villain. He has enough charisma and prowess to assume command of any situation. He stands up strong and isn't afraid to let you know that he's not a pushover. You see this guy walk into a room, and you know he means business. The actor who played him was fantastic. In fact, the entire cast did a great job. Ben Mendelsohn as Krennic, Mads Mikkelsen as Galen, Felicity Jones, Diego Luna. But Donnie Yen really steals the show. He plays this blind martial artist who uses the Force to help him fight. I am one with the Force is with me. He's undeniably skilled in hand-to-hand combat. He's able to take down 12 stormtroopers without firing a shot. Literally. Having all these different characters come together really made the story work, and the lack of any Jedi was a nice refresher. So with a great story and a fantastic cast, what could be wrong with the movie? Well, maybe the underuse of one particular actor. One thing I was looking forward to was finding out what type of character Forrest Whitaker was playing. And who does he turn out to be? A one-dimensional crazy leader of a radical anti-empire militia. Honestly, when you have one of the best actors in the world, you give him something to work with. You don't just toss him in there for credibility points. It wasn't that his performance was bad or anything, but given his appearance, you'd think he'd be playing this wise old sage who advises Jin as she goes on her adventure. Instead, crazy old man living in the desert it is. It's weird though, he plays Saw Gerrera, the same Saw Gerrera from the Star Wars Clone Wars TV show. Not sure why they made him so loopy, but I'm guessing living in the desert on the run from a galactic empire does that to you. Although it is a bad sign if the live-action counterpart of a character is more cartoony than the cartoon version. But hey, they managed to get Forrest Whitaker. That's all that matters. By having it take place right before the original trilogy, Rogue One was a huge gamble. I had very little doubt that it would be bad, I just had no idea that it would be this good. I honestly never thought I was going to say this, but I think it was better than The Force Awakens. It expanded a universe we thought we knew all about, it had a great one-off story, and it gave a more everyday approach by removing Jedi and having no characters use the Force. At least, not in terms of making stuff float around or force choking someone. All that, plus the awesome battle sequences and the return of Darth Vader, this is a Star Wars movie we didn't need, but the one we definitely deserved. Make sure you don't miss out on Rogue One, a Star Wars story, because it is a total incrediblast! By the way, I went with a few friends of mine, and we got there a little bit later than we would have liked, and when we got in, it was a sold-out showing, and there were like no seats left. So we ended up sitting all the way in the back, in the corner. We were able to see the movie fine and fully enjoy it. Just take this as a cautionary tale to make sure you get there early. And if you do get there a little bit late, it's better off to sit at the front, where you have to arch all the way back to look at the screen, than to be all the way in the back in a corner, where you have to spend half the movie leaning in. Oh hey look, a starship. Also, if you've already seen the movie, then stay tuned for my spoiler speak, where I break down the movie with all the character deaths and plot twists intact. Alright, that's my review of Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Have you seen it? What did you think about it? Leave an answer by commenting down below. And as always, this is the Canadian Movie Buff saying I hope you had a fantastic weekend at the movies. See ya!